Hi, I'm Amy, Curator of Collections, and as always, I am happy you can join me for another in-depth look at artwork and cultural items from the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center's permanent collection. Our September segment celebrates harvest time at the Pueblos. After time spent during the hot summer months tending to our gardens, now is the time to harvest. Successful fall harvests provide plentiful corn and squash. I will share the importance of corn and squash to us here in Pueblo country. The depiction of corn and squash on various art forms is translated in literal and or figurative forms. The artworks I choose are always inspiring, and the artists who paint, draw, or form these works offer unique perspectives and give me a reason to continue sharing their beauty. Many indigenous communities celebrate and respect what are known as the Three Sisters: corn, beans, and squash. The traditional Pueblo agriculture always includes these three crops. When cooked together, corn, beans, and squash create a perfectly balanced meal, and when planted together, they offer an effective and symbiotic connection. When planted near each other, corn provides a stalk for the climbing bean vines to grow upon, while beans provide the nitrogen in the soil that is necessary for a successful corn and squash crop. Squash and melons are a low-growing crop with broad, spiny leaves and create ground cover to protect the fragile bean plants from pests. Not only do the Three Sisters offer tasty dietary sustenance, they also correlate with many indigenous traditional practices. Founder and program director of the Traditional Native American Farmers Association, Clayton Bracupe, says of the Three Sisters, quote, "It's like a family unit. Everybody has their place, their duty and responsibility to other members of that family unit," end quote. Two of the Three Sisters frequently appear in or on Pueblo-made artworks. I will share with you our paintings, pottery, jewelry, and a bronze piece honoring corn and squash. The paintings I will show you depict the respected corn plant in a variety of interpretations and mediums. Let's start with the acrylic on paper by Francis Tafoya. Tafoya is from the Pueblo of Santa Clara, which is north of Santa Fe. This acrylic was Tafoya's submission for a larger two-panel canvas painting, which is currently displayed in our museum. It shows the cyclical nature of the Pueblo calendar with a focus on the fall and winter seasons, when harvest occurs, and also when the animal dances take place. The circle in the middle brings our eyes to one large and healthy corn stalk, and opposite that is a row of 4 corn stalks, almost as if he is saying, "From one there come many." Corn is utilized by our Pueblo people in many ways, not just for dietary supplement. It provides a means to communicate our prayers and is part of our traditions and ceremonies. Special corn grinding songs are sung, and traditional corn dances are held every year. Many Pueblo households still grind corn by hand. At the top of Tafoya's painting is placed the sun in the form of the sun face, shining life-giving energy to the earth below. This work is entitled and was part of the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center's mural project, which took place in the late 1970s to the early 1980s. Tafoya studied at the Institute of American Indian Art in Santa Fe and at Highlands University in Las Vegas, New Mexico. He has painted since the age of 6 and now works for the Pueblo of Santa Clara. The wood-framed acrylic and oil on canvas is painted by Navajo artist Tony Abeda. This work was donated by late Pueblo historian and author Joe Sando of Jemez Pueblo, who also made the wood frame. Abeda is a graduate of New York University and holds an honorary doctorate from the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe. He was the 2012 recipient of the New Mexico Governor's Excellence in the Arts Award and recognized as a native treasure by the Museum of Indian Arts and Culture. The stylized corn plants and Kokopelli figures appear to dance in the wind. The layered paints give the painting an almost three-dimensional appearance. Kokopelli holds different meanings for many tribes. For some, it is associated with fertility and agriculture. I interpret Abeda's painting as Kokopelli spirits urging the field of corn plants to grow up strong with plenty of corn. In the acrylic on canvas by Charles F. Lovato, a surplus of symbolism is painted into a scene set above a band of images, all representative of life on earth. Lovato bisects the scene with an earthy red color, with a blue color on the right and a light tan on the left. To me, it looks like the sky and earth flipped on its side. Within the earth are planted 3 corn plants. Within the sky, a figure releasing butterflies. A central focal point is a large bowl with a cob of yellow corn tilted toward the figure. The figure blends with the earthy red color to signify man's deep connection to the earth and all that she offers. Charles Lovato was from Santo Domingo, Pueblo, and like Francis Tafoya, was also one of the artists chosen as part of the mural project. This framed acrylic was his submission for a larger mural, which he painted on canvas. Lovato became a painter of abstract subjects, a muralist, illustrator, poet, and craftsman. His paintings and prints were unique and full of abstract figures, fine lines, smooth curves, and earthy tones. We have quite a few works of Lovato's in our collection. Each is similar to this particular work, and each evokes a rich and conceptual storyline drawn with precision and care. In 1982, he published a book of poems titled Life Under the Sun, and we have the book in our library. He served in the Navy and studied art with Jemez Pueblo artist Jose Ray Toledo in Santa Fe. After 1967, many of his paintings were accompanied by one of his poems. He explained that sometimes a poem came first or were written in response to the painting. I imagine he loved piecing these two art forms together. Next up is a watercolor on paper by Percy Sandy of Zuni, Pueblo. In this framed work, we see what is known as a mudhead dancer. He dances in front of a large corn plant in reverence and with respect. The mudhead dancers are known as the disciplinarian, joker, and village crier. Percy was born in 1918 and attended elementary and secondary schools at the Pueblo of Zuni. He did attend the Santa Fe Indian School, where he found his place as an artist. He signs his work with his Zuni name, Kaisa, which means red moon. I found 3 small pottery wares in our collection depicting corn or seedlings emerging from the earth. The miniature canteen is painted with rain clouds and a field with a sprig of corn plant rising from the earth. The small oval-shaped bowl is embellished with a black on gray scallop design below the rim with 3 cobs of corn in the middle of the interior. These were formed by Demacia Suina of Cochiti, Pueblo, and were donated by Catherine Lewis in 1990. My guess is that these were made for a small child or used to relate a story about the importance of corn and farming. On the interior of the small black on buff bowl is depicted a stylized field of corn with more sprigs of corn plants. The exterior is painted with geometric designs of steps to symbolize rain clouds. This bowl was purchased with funds raised by volunteers in 1985. Though the artist is unknown, we do know it is from the Pueblo of Cochiti. The brownish-red jar was made by Ron Martinez looking out of Isleta and Taos Pueblos. Ron polished the jar and uses the scratching method called sgraffito to decorate the exterior. This bowl is a beautiful ode to corn and the revered corn mother. I love his use of the stylized corn maiden spirit, taking the viewer on a journey around the jar. A corn maiden holding cobs of corn moves on to two Pueblo women grinding corn in the old manner, using a stone, mano, and metate to finely grind the corn into cornmeal. A corn maiden holds a basket of cornmeal in one hand while throwing cornmeal with her other hand, and a corn mother seated beneath a night sky filled with stars underneath two corn plants bent toward the center, forming an arch. The etched out negative space behind each setting forms a cloud-like ethereal atmosphere. Martina's Looking Elk's jar depicts the many uses of a corn plant in an original and imaginative manner. He says of his work and native cultures, quote, "We have a unique outlook on life, and as an artist, I feel I am contributing to the cultural lifeways of indigenous thought and perspective. I am a traditional potter, but love to bead, paint, do ledger drawings, and dance in my Pueblo community, powwow, and hula." He is a busy and well-traveled man. A graduate of the Institute of American Indian Arts, his expertise includes 20-plus years of community and leadership development, specializing in building sustainable economic development in indigenous communities, not just locally, but globally. The two remaining artworks showcasing corn are a beautiful coral and gold necklace made by Andy Kirk of Isleta Pueblo and a bronze cast jar made by Jemez Pueblo artist Estela Loreto. Andy Lee Kirk was born to Navajo and Isleta Pueblo parents and learned the artistry of metal and goldsmithing from Navajo jeweler Gibson Nez. This necklace features 5 strands of coral beads, gold beads and tips, and 1 corn maiden pendant. The pendant is crafted out of gold with details in front and on the back. The front of her body is formed with a row of corn kernels cut into a piece of red coral. She wears a shawl with geometric designs, and her hair is tied on each side of her head in a traditional manner. The small bit of chain and clasp are handmade with an additional but smaller corn maiden charm attached at the clasp. He took a first place ribbon in the jewelry category at the Santa Fe Indian Market and a best of category at the Gallup Intertribal Indian Ceremonial, among many other awards. Unfortunately, he passed away at the height of his career. His daughter Melanie Kirk Lenti and her husband Michael Lenti carry on his legacy and are extraordinary jewelers as well. Melanie says of her father, quote, "His life was 100% commitment to his art. He never believed in standing still. He embraced new technologies and techniques. He believed that art was always evolving, not standing still. It was this spirit of innovation that made his work come to life." End quote. The last work I wish to share honoring corn is a bronze cast jar formed by Jemez Pueblo artist Estela Loreto. Estela is known for her larger-than-life bronze pieces. Her graceful approach is seen in all of her works. I love the simplicity and gentle flow of this bronze. Clasped within a pair of hands is 1 corn cob with an array of corn husks waving around it. The shiny gold kernels pop with brightness, while the gold accented teal husks spiral from the center to the outer edges. A step design is carved at the opening, and this is a symbol for rain clouds. Estela Loreto studied and trained with many mentors, including her mother. Most notably, it was renowned Chiricahua Apache sculptor Alan Hauser who encouraged and led her to making monumental sculptures. Now, Loreto also creates wearable art. From her webpage, her artist statement reads, quote, "To be able to create beauty with my hands is a gift. It is an honor for me to be an artist. My art is inspired by nature and the beauty of life's unfolding. My art is stylized, colorful, and contemporary, rooted in but not confined by my cultural traditions. I see the making of art as a process that entails a sincere and beautiful way of communicating with the Great Spirit. I like the freedom of creative expression without boundaries and limitations, yet achieving art that is serene, balanced, harmonious, and graceful." End quote. The bronze was donated to the center in 1995 by Mary Cutright of West Virginia, and it was in memory of Hazel and Helen Smithson. From the array of artworks I have shared, you get a better understanding of how important corn is to our Pueblo people. The spiritual connection is undeniable. The abundance of corn provided by well-tended fields may not yield as large a crop as they once have, as seen in Pablito Velarde's painting. Here, a woman is shucking corn husks off of a blue corn, while red, blue, white, and yellow corn sit at her feet. I shared this small painting in a previous peek into our collection, and it suits today's discussion about the significance of corn to our people. Pablita is from the Pueblo of Santa Clara. As mentioned in the beginning, the three sisters consist of corn, beans, and squash. Squash come from the same family as melons, and for our remaining selections, I will show you what are known as melon jars. These works feature evenly formed ribs mimicking the outer ribbed skins of some melons. Alton Comalestoa's black melon jar is beautifully polished. The hand-formed ribs are felt on the interior as well. Alton is Hopi Tewa, and he married Jeannie, who was the daughter of Santa Clara potter Helen Shupla. Helen was known for her own beautifully formed melon jars. Helen taught him the process to make her trademark melon bowls and jars. The ribbed areas are pushed out from the inside, not carved on the outside. The remaining melon jars were created not by pushing the ribs from the interior, but from carving. The black face is by Angela Baca of Santa Clara, Pueblo. This won a third-place ribbon in 1975 at the 8 Northern Indian Pueblos Council annual craft show. She also won awards at the Santa Fe Indian Market. The buff-colored melon bowl by Damien Toya features a more swirling, stylized rib design. Again, one sees the marvelous and meticulous polishing of the ribs. The unpolished areas between the ribs allow for contrast and gives one a look at what the natural slip looks like when not worked with a polishing stone. Toya is from the Pueblo of Jemez and comes from a line of celebrated potters. Toya now identifies as Dominique, and her work, she says, quote, "All the pots that I create are my favorite because each one is a part of me." Finally, this small and round melon bowl with a lid is made by Dominique's sister, Camilla Toya. Again, we see the swirl, and this swirl carries on in a balanced manner around the entire bowl. The red pigment painted is similarly polished, with the inside of each rib left unpolished. The small lid is formed of the same red clay and is also unpolished, though decorated with a hand-formed butterfly painted with geometric designs. Both Dominique and Camilla create beautiful melon bowls with their signature swirl. Of her work, Camilla says, quote, "I love butterflies and have a strong passion for creating my own style of art," end quote. I hope you enjoyed this segment of a view into the collection. I enjoy sharing with you, all of our viewers, our extraordinary collection of Pueblo art and pottery. Please join me next month for my October segment. The theme is Iani, or blessings. I will share more pottery and art selected from our collection depicting symbols of blessings such as rain and clouds. Thank you so much.